now, Sophie? Right, jolly good.
Yes, we're now live, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, welcome to all, and particularly welcome to those substituting this afternoon for this meeting. And luckily the meeting is on Zoom, so everybody can keep warm and dry and not be blown away or sleeted or snowed on. So you're all very welcome. Let's start with the first item on the agenda, which is substitutes nominated for this meeting and apologies for absence. Sophie?
Yes, Chair. So we've received apologies from Councillor A. Smith, Councillor Parsons-Falls and Councillor Ford, and Councillor Beach is here to substitute for Councillor Ford.
Lovely, thank you, and you're very welcome, Councillor Beach. Second item is members' interest. To remind members to declare any disclosable pecuniary interest they have or other interests in relation to items on the agenda. Either speak now or when issues come up during the meeting. Thank you. Item 3, it's not recommended that the public be excluded from the meeting for considerations of any of the items on the agenda. Okay, I'm just looking around the screen to see if Councillor Megan Swift had joined us yet, but not yet. Minutes of the meeting held on the 7th of December to be agreed as a correct record and signed by the Chair. Councillor Blackburn.
Thank you, Chair. I'm more than happy to move those as a due record.
And I'm happy to second those. Make sure I've only got one item that's coming up later. Okay, that's those minutes are then agreed. Thank you. Okay, right, moving on to the content of the meeting. Item 5 is the Markets Revenue Monitor, and I think that's you, Mr. Greenwood.
Thank you, Chair. The reporting from the working group today is the report that we've provided previous to previous meetings, and it's broadly in line. The forecast, the budget pressure is of 200k is broadly in line with what's been reported now. I think probably going back a couple of years. Just a reminder to the working group of something that's been mentioned on a number of occasions is that the market service continues to be a net contributor to the council's budget. When we talk about the pressures, it's the budget pressure that's anticipated in the council's overall budget. So the budget pressures remained at about £200,000 now. The review that Cabinet agreed to, I think going back to November 20, agreed to a number of proposals that are detailed in the report as to how the market service could achieve savings within costs and perhaps achieve additional income to bring the budget into line overall. The proposals, Chair, have been more or less implemented. There's just a bit of work to be done around the restructure, but by the end of the financial year, it's expected that all of the savings proposals detailed in the report will be completed. And really, Chair, it's the next financial year then we'll see these savings come through, and that's obviously when we'll need to consider if there's any further action that we need to take. Although the savings proposals may well achieve the overall saving of £200,000 or more, the main issue, as we all know, for the markets is how will the markets continue to trade in a COVID environment and in a post-COVID environment? And that, Chair, is something that if somebody knows the answer to that, then I'd be glad if they could let me know. So the recruitment and retention of traders is key. Obviously, we attract new traders to the market all the time, but we have the incentives in place that mean that new traders to the market, the full income is not sort of the full benefit is not felt for a 12-month period. So it's as much about retention of market traders as it is about recruitment, although they're equal of importance. So the actions have been agreed and implemented, Chair, and we just need to see now how those balance themselves against the proposals and the expected savings that were agreed by Cabinet going back to November 20.
Thank you. There's actually quite a lot in this short paper. Certainly one of the things for me, you're absolutely right, is that basically the market service still actually really contributes to the council's coffers, and we mustn't forget that, you know, whatever the the accounting techniques in terms of targets and savings might be that actually it is a net contributor. Questions on the paper for Mr. Greenwood? Howard, Councillor Blackburn.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's certainly in favour of the car boot sales closing. We've gone through that in the past, but there was at one stage, I might be totally wrong on this one, so my apologies, John, but there was an indication that we would potentially have an extra day market stall in Brighouse to actually make up for that. So it's just clarification on that as to whether that is the case moving forward.
John or Alan want to come in on that? John? Do you mute, John?
Yeah, I'm just sorry about that. It's not Teams, is it? Yeah, I can comment. We have introduced an additional day on a Sunday. Not the best of time of year to do so, I'm afraid, and particularly with the weather that we've been witnessing lately. Occupancy, though, has slowly grown, and we are quite optimistic that obviously from spring onwards, this will be quite relatively successful. We've had a lot of take-up on. We've done a fair bit of social media coverage over this last couple of weeks from our various own personal accounts and things. And we've had quite a lot of coverage and quite a lot of people interested. So we'll see if that materialises really into what we really want, which is the pound notes in the bank, really. So, yeah, optimistically, it's just Wednesday I've got to worry about at Brighouse at the moment because for some reason, some of the open market stall occupancy has fallen somewhat.
Okay, thank you. Alan, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, just to say, Chair, John, I think it might also be worth mentioning the work that's been taking place amongst the traders in Brighouse. They've created a collective, and in a way that they're now beginning to kind of organise themselves and start to look forward and think about how they can work together and work with us in taking the market forward. So some real kind of positive green shoots, I think, of the market moving forward and looking forward.
Yeah, just following on from that, yeah, with they've got an emergency general meeting now, I think it's on the 2nd of March, where they're going to formally constitute themselves with a proper written constitution, a proper elected set of officers, so that they can be taken serious in Brighouse. They've also been very successful in acquiring some welcome back funding to undertake some activity, and I'm told that will include some quite interesting entertainment with stilt walkers wandering around that bottom end of Brighouse and things like that. So you'll have to look out for it, Councillor Bradbury.
need to be careful on those wooden sitting areas by the canal. Actually, I wouldn't go on stilts on those. Councillor Blackburn.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you for the work that you're doing in relation to the markets in Brighouse. It's really important, and I think it's real key that we've got some people involved. It would be quite useful. I'll declare my interest as a director of bid, and I'll declare my interest as the town deal board or whatever. But actually, it would be quite useful if we can identify an individual that might want to work on the subcommittee on the markets party on the town deal board to look at possible changes to the Brighouse market. The other area of slight concern, and that is a slight overlap in relation to the additional funding. I don't know what the office is called, but the 7 offices in Calderdale. And I was just slightly concerned in relation to the overlap of what they're doing and what the bid is doing in Brighouse, and whether that there's a bit of a duplication and a slightly. I think I'll leave it as that. I don't want to say anything else in relation to anything in relation to the people that are being employed, but it's just that clarification, really.
Yes, and you did raise that before in terms of the bid, various cultural activities, what the markets were doing. I don't know, Sheila, would you like to just say something about the Welcome Back Fund and the staff working in relation to that?
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thanks, Councillor Blackburn. I think we did try and provide a response earlier, so that there is a clearly different function, and I think it's just making sure that we don't duplicate and overlap. I think it's good we've got this additional resource, and it was intended to be that reducing transmission, making sure that people were behaving safely in the streets, and all of those added COVID aware measures that we were introducing. We've expanded that role to do much more, and hopefully it does supplement and complement the work of the bids. And just to help with the joining up, we have introduced new governance measures that we'll be talking to the bids around, with regular officer attendance at both Halifax and Brighouse bid, just to make sure that our business plans are lined up and we're not complicating matters and creating messages.
Yeah, super. That's really helpful, because I know Helen's really has been instrumental in terms of the Brighouse bid, and she's real keen to work with whoever. But we just need to unite and get the opinions of the market and join the town together. I think the market's been seen as a bit of it's out there in the sticks, and it's not quite part of the town. So we'll there's a lot of work to do.
Thank you for that, Councillor. And I think it's something that John said right at the beginning in terms of his response on this, that this we're still not there yet, post-pandemic, even if we can use those words. I don't really like the new normal, but things haven't settled enough yet. We don't know whether the way in which people's shopping habits have changed is going to carry on. We are in the middle of recruiting things, and I think in terms of rebasing and thinking forward in terms of the underlying financial structures of how we look at markets, I think there's more work to be done, really, when we understand better actually how shopping in our market towns is going to return to a more stable position. Howard.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. I keep on going. You wish I wasn't on this committee, I'm sure, but I am. So I know I represent Brighouse. It was just a suggestion. I want to obtain John's view on this in relation to we're looking to with various issues in terms of the Brighouse Civic Hall. Now, I know for a fact quite a number of years ago the indoor market didn't work in Brighouse, but is that a possibility of consideration as to using the Brighouse Civic Hall as an indoor market as opposed to what we're dealing with at the moment? I know people often prefer markets being outdoor, but I'd welcome your views actually to see whether it's a win-win situation potentially for the council, that actually we then don't have to dispose the building, but we've saved money and we've got a site to dispose of equally.
I'll ask John for his initial views in a minute, but I think we certainly take those kind of things away and look at them. But given what we've just said about people's shopping habits, there is no doubt that the indoor markets have fared less well than the outdoor markets at the moment. So whether the climate in both ways is right for that, I don't know. John, your initial thoughts?
I take it you're referring to the Park Street market that once was.
Yes, indeed, yes.
When I was much younger than I am now.
Likewise.
Yeah, that one didn't seem to work for some unknown reason. But it's never been tried or tested. So to comment on it and to give a affirmative view would be very remiss of me without doing some background work with it. But when you consider that, obviously, when we took on Brighouse Market was in dire straits, really. I can't say it any worse. I'm not saying we've made major improvement, because there's still room for improvement. But what you find now when you visit Brighouse Market is that the majority of the lockups are all taken. All them individuals would be what traders that you would potentially see within a market hall, really. The butcher, the fishmonger, etc. And even the one that I advocate, who has grown a business during COVID, the young lady that I referred to in the last meeting, she's now expanding. So again, we don't know. We'd have to go and speak to them. Councillor Blackburn.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Thank you, John. If there's nothing else on this report, members are asked to note it, and let's see how things are looking at the next meeting in terms of some of the issues that Mr. Greenwood has raised that clearly we do need to keep an eye on in this changing environment. Members happy to note the report?
Yeah.
All right, okay. Let's move on to item 6, which is a briefing paper on the Halifax Future High Street Fund progress and the borough market. And I think that's you, Janet.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Councillor Scullion. So I won't read verbatim the briefing note that I've forwarded to you all. Sure you've had a look at that, but to summarise for you, as you know, we were successful with the Halifax Future High Street bid, which is a total of 11.7 million, which is an excellent substantial amount coming into the town centre there. Specifically of that amount, we've got 4.4 million, again, a nice substantial amount specifically for the borough market. It is that thing though, when you start to break these things down, as Alan will back me up on this, it's a lovely amount of money, but when you start to use it, it's stretching it as far as we possibly can and getting the best benefits we can out of that money as well. So there has been some work behind the scenes, as you can see from the briefing notes, of putting together the structure that's needed there to deliver the project, which has been ongoing. And I've summarised there for you the scope, various scopes of works that are within for the borough market in particular, carrying on that extensive roofing works that CAFM have already been doing to date, further work to the Albion Arcade to enhance the opportunities there. Albion Street frontage improvements was another thing that's being looked at, and then particularly to do with the fabric of the building, this about it being safe, watertight, warm, linking there with what's needed for statutory wise as well from a health and safety point of view. And another area is potentially it's that redefinition of the under the clock there that we've talked about for some time, looking at realising that as well. So I think the thing to highlight and sort of perhaps for maybe discussion here as well is about the next steps and the short-term milestones that we're looking at, and also to raise your awareness about some of the risks that we're looking at and we're looking to reduce. Governance has now been put in place, and that's all starting this month from the point of view of project delivery boards through to a programme delivery board. And we've split that into separate because it's chunked up quite nicely into three, where we've got Borough Market, we've got Victoria Theatre, and then we've got a section which we've called the Public Realm for the Future High Street Fund, which includes a play trail, George's Square, and some improvements to the historical alleyways as well. So we've moved it into three direct project delivery boards, which will then report to me as programme board for Future High Street Fund for Halifax. So that's all now being put into place. The teams have been put together with the specialists, including John here on the call, people from Alan's team from CAFM, Cultural Services, Diana's team with tourism. So we're spreading it across where it needs to be. Particularly for Borough Market, this is where I talk here about the specifics, is that there's a big piece of work to do with linking this. We've got almost like a shopping list of things we would love to do, but what we have got to do and what links directly is we have outcomes with this. It's government funding. So it's very clear that we have to be able to demonstrate when we use this money and put this in place that we can deliver these outcomes, that we can, and it comes down to footfall basically for the borough market. That's the level there that we have to show we've increased quite a substantial amount. So it's not just about what we're doing, it's how we're going to do it and how we're going to achieve this. It's how are we going to get more people into the market? How are we going to get people to stay in the market and move around it? So that's the big piece of work that we've to really at pace move now with and link this together. So we've got stakeholder engagement plans being drafted now. We need to work with the market traders, their input and feedback. We need to work with yourselves for your input and feedback, and the wider, like as I say, with who we've got on the delivery board from Cultural Services and the visitor team and that side of things. And then CAFM themselves, who are they, it's their building that they have to upkeep and keep running as well, and John's Markets team. So it's now, that's the big job in the next month or so, pulling that together. I don't want to leave on a negative, finish my talk on a negative, but I do need to highlight the risks for you there. Cost. This is a finite piece of money that we've got. We don't have, unless somebody's going to tell me, and Paul's got something stuff somewhere that he can give to me that we can use. It's specifically this piece of money we've got for this. So budget control is going to have to be absolutely bang on. We've got to link to that assurance, the government insurance, which that is I'll be honest, that's a learning curve as well. This is all new to the government themselves. They still seem to be putting their teams together. So we get quite different demands and requests there. So we're all learning with that. And yeah, that sort of summarises where I am, and open to questions.
Thank you. I think Sheila put her hand up, but then it went down again. So I'll take Councillor Blackburn first.
Thank you, Chair. My question and concerns relate to the delivery, because we've received an awful lot of money from central government for all different pots of money for Brickhouse, Tomlin and Ellen's.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a real concern. We're approaching the end of February, and it really does concern me in relation to these timescales as to how feasible we can actually deliver. I've got every confidence in the officers, but they can only deal with so much, and there's only so many hours in the day. So I guess the question is to really provide us some with assurances. Is there some flexibility in relation to some of these monies as well? So is it a combination? Have we got enough staff? You know, actually, what's your major thing that you go home and think, actually, I'm really worried about? You know, and it's something that we're sort of all feeling, but nobody's saying it, I think, in some ways. So it's absolutely brilliant. We've got all this promised money, but if we're not careful, we'll lose out on everything.
Yeah,
and that's been pessimistic, I know, but it's just it does concern me. I
think it's a very valid question, Councillor Howard, and you know, we do need the resources to deliver these. We've demonstrated we're absolutely brilliant at getting this money into the team and into the council, and it's then is particularly about delivery. I can only talk to you about future high street funds here, and that we are against a timescales, and it does concern me, and it is a risk, because some of these quite large projects, you know, within there, when you're talking £4.4 million that we have to do, I'm a lot more comfortable now than I was 6 months ago. We have the structure within the future high streets now, it's there, and we have the staffing from a CMBC officer point of view. So I'm comfortable with that as we stand on this particular programme of works. But yes, I can't not say that it's not going to be difficult and we're going to have to move at pace. But what we are doing, and I know Kate and Sheila are doing at the higher level meetings they go to, is we are feeding back to our colleagues at government about the timescales that we're being asked to deliver these things. It's not just coming from Halifax, it's coming from other local authorities as well. Everybody is in the same situation, and we wait, we keep that pressure up on the hope that there'll be a little bit more flexibility that appears. It hasn't done as yet on future high streets, but as I said, I was at a monitoring and strategy meeting a couple of weeks ago, and that voice was very loud and very clear from all local authorities. So we will keep pushing that, but at the moment we will have to work at full pace on this one. But I'm comfortable with this programme of works from a CMBC officer point of view.
Thank you. Did you want to come back, Howard?
I did actually, and thank you for the thank you for the clarification and the splendid job you're doing as well in relation to getting this money in and equally moving this forward. The other biggest question is the funding. Because actually with the escalating costs, is this actually going to fulfil half of what we want to deliver? And that's a major concern. Something I know you won't be able to answer, but it is a concern that actually we're not going to be able to deliver half of what we're saying, and therefore we're left with a building that's not, it's okay, but it could be better.
Yeah, so particularly with Borough Market, and CAFAM did a fantastic job on the original bid of putting together what went through there for the market, and they did leave sensibly some space and movement within there. Now, of course, we are in a very different place to when we did the big bid in late 2019 to where we are now. So there is a question on some of that, and that's the work that's going on now. Is we've broken the Borough Market now into smaller scopes of work, and those are being recosted and retested against the current market basis, and we will have to do that on an ongoing basis. I'll be able to answer that in more detail in the coming months as we've done those exercises in revisiting each package of works. I would suggest initially, yes, we look quite comfortable with what we had on the ground for the Borough Market. I think if I was talking to you about maybe one of the other areas of programmes, I might be saying something different, but because of the detail that the CAFAM colleagues did on the original bid there, it feels pretty sensible still.
Yeah, I think that was work that had a history and long development, yeah. And John had a voice in terms of we need to do this. Alan, you wanted to come in here.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just to say the point that Janet's made are all valid, and of course the other thing that we need to do, and I think it was probably one of the initial things that Janet said, 4.4 million sounds a lot of money. In the context of the borough market, it'll only go so far. So there's a big issue for us in terms of managing expectations and exactly what that will deliver and what it won't deliver. And then the other aspect of that for me, which is going back to the previous reports and the revenue position and the current challenges we've got in the market, we've got to remember there are a series of independent retailers who operate from that space, which will become a construction site. So there's the pace that Janet describes, which is really important. We've got to deliver, we've got to be efficient in the way that we deliver, but we've also got to take the traders with us, and we've got to be mindful that they've got to continue to operate during that time as well. So there's a real delicate balance between pace, delivery, and sensitivity, if you like. So it really is quite a careful juggling act that we'll need to undertake. But of course, it's in everybody's interest for us to get this right. I'm sure the traders will work with us, but it's really, really important that we continue to work with them and do this with them rather than do it to them. So yeah, it will be a careful balancing act.
Thank you very much, and that's a timely reminder about people's livelihoods dependent upon that building, and also how atrocious the weather is for trading outside at this time of year. I've got 3 points meeting, if I could use chair's privilege and just ask them. It was a great summary report, Janet, and I like short reports very much, but it was quite factual. And I wondered from the point of view of yourself and Rachel as the new project manager of this, what do you think is really exciting about this? You know, what really is going to lift the borough market? What are people going to see? And then my final bit is, and are the public toilets and the traders' toilets going to be improved?
I'll answer your second question first and say yes. So the toilets, both the CAFAM team have already started work on that. With this is why from Councillor Howard's earlier question about the money is that CAFAM have continued where they can to almost to keep chipping away at some of these things that were on the original bid. So they have found some extra monies already for the public toilets. So design work has already continued on that. So yes, there is part of it will be improvement of the toilets for both the public and for the market traders. So I can assure you of that. And then to give you, yeah, it isn't it? I'm conscious this was a very and Councillor Scullen, you know me, I do tend to wave my arms around and get quite giddy. So yes, I'm as giddy about the market as I am about everything else. It feels a challenge at the moment, and John and I have talked about this. It's now linking this all together because we're back to this fantastic. There's the work already being done with the Albion Arcade, and it's building on that. Had a really good conversation this last week with Bobsy, and again we got quite excited because from a cultural point of view and an events point of view, that was starting to come through. So you can see that from the team now of that. It's a really good mix of CAFAM from the facilities and buildings, and then you've got Bobsy from cultural, Diana from the visiting Halifax point of view. So it's now pulling everybody's ideas and excitement together on what we can deliver, with Alan's quite right word of there about what can we deliver. But I think what we can, and again I'm stretching and saying we will be able to, but we can dovetail this in. I think whilst we're doing this and with the team we've now put together, I'm hoping we can develop, and as much as maybe we look at the costings and we're looking at all the exciting plans we can do, is taking it that step forward. We're back to this at funding, aren't we? When funding appears and we need to have that horrible word that you use about shovel ready, is if the things that we can't achieve with this or that we've identified are the next steps, that we have those ready, we have the team together, which Alan already has as well, with senior members working groups about what those next steps are as well. What can we do here, but then what do we do next, and be ready for hopefully if there's another section of money that we can bid for as well.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Megan Swift, you're very welcome. Glad you were able to join us.
Thank you. I'm Lerminati, but that's you know. A couple of things. And I got so excited about the toilet, I nearly need to go to the bathroom, you know. You've no idea how many times we've all brought that up. So start on it's a major move forward. I think the other one is, and I don't doubt how hard everybody's worked on the market, but every time there's a space, you seem to get a table and 4 chairs and somebody eating. Well, I'd rather not eat in there at the moment. I don't know, but I'm in a minority of one. But we've got to find a way to make sure with none of the rodents come back. You know, if we food it will scarper it all along. My other point is, I mention at every meeting now, and I'll have more time because of the toilets being done. I want us to do something about the pigeons outside. I want us to do something about cleaning up that sort, because they go on in the morning, do the workers, and it's not bad. But by dinner time, and people are sat on seats eating and feeding the birds or just dropping the food anywhere, it's not going to be a good advert to get people into the borough market. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Megan. And you're absolutely right. I do eat in there and enjoy it tremendously. And the food offer actually has varied tremendously. Clearly, there's more that we can do. And John's been taking notes as you speak. I think that the 4.4 million is essential. And we won't see, as the public, we won't see some of that money, because actually some of the things you mentioned, Megan, are that the basic things of making sure that building is watertight and safe and sealed, and it will disappear into the roof. I would say to people who hear about the 4.4 million that's coming into Halifax Market, one of the things that you could do is to look up at the extraordinarily handsome Victorian ironmongery, the iron framing of the building, you know, which is architecturally superb, really. And I think one of the things that excites me, Janet, take note, is the idea that actually people can see and recognise how handsome that building is. It's not just the functionality and the utility of it and making sure it doesn't leak. And I know the traders have had problems with some of the torrential downpours we've had. But actually to see it come into its own as a handsome building that befits a handsome town like Halifax. Megan, you wanted to come back?
Yeah, just very quickly. One of the best views of the top of the market is from one of the higher floors at Princess Buildings. We could, when people can go in different buildings, let people go up and look, because it's amazing. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody else there, but Janet, you will be bringing reports back to this Markets Working Party, won't you?
Yeah, I would assume now you'd want me to provide a regular update at each meeting.
Yes,
now,
and maybe, you know, sort of overview, but also perhaps focusing on just one of the areas so that we can better understand. And thank you to you, and thank you to the officers who are involved in the bidding and who are taking this forward. I see that Rachel Conway, who already works for the council, is going to be the project manager, and it may be that she should come to the next Markets Working Party and introduce herself to members.
I will do, yeah. We'll bring Rachel next time.
Okay, thank you. Are members happy to note that report? Okay. We move on then to agenda item 7, the communications update. Karen, I think that's you. Show yourself.
I'm here. I was just trying to make sure that I didn't lose connection by not showing my picture, but hopefully we'll be okay.
We're enjoying the northern lights behind you.
I didn't realise that was still there because I haven't used Zoom for quite a long time. So you'll have seen the report that I did since last meeting, which is just over 2 months. We promoted the Let's Grow event, and that included a leaflet to all primary school children. And we also sent it out to internal venues such as museums and libraries, and also to the mosques. And I think it was a very successful event, as was the half-term one that we did with the same people. We did a press release and it was picked up by the Courier. We did e-call, social media, and there was also a special web page on the Visit Calderdale website and that created quite a lot of interest as well. So overall, I think that was a really good event for the market, and it's, you know, it's one of the things that kind of increases footfall and gets people to see everything else that's happening around the market at the same time. So, you know, any kind of additional events like that will continue to help promote through our accounts and through Visit Calderdale. We've also been continuing to help promote Cargo Dale through social media and e-call, and we've done quite a few adverts as well. So we've had Christmas in between. So we did Skircutt Green, we did the Christmas pamphlet with Bid, the Market Trader News we did with some really good editorial. We did Northern Life, Craven and Valley Life, and we also have done, just for the last year, an advert in the Disability magazine, which you'll have seen in the report as well. So in addition to that, we've been spending quite a lot of time working on the New Traders campaign, which I know you're all aware of, but it feels quite exciting. We had an officers meeting on Tuesday, and it does feel like we're getting towards a soft launch at the beginning of March, followed by a sort of bigger push towards the end of March. And I'll just explain what we've done so far. So I've been working with the web team. We've updated the trader webpage now with some imagery, which I'm hoping to share with officers, particularly John and Alan, tomorrow. And it's got some of the new imagery on that we've shared with you in past meetings, and it's on my report as well. So I'm just waiting to get some quotes from John, who's going to talk to some of the traders so that we can get some quotes from them. So it's not just us saying how brilliant the market is. It'll be good to get some quotes from the traders saying, you know, why it's so good working in the market. And then also we're meeting with Mark in our team tomorrow, myself and John, so we can talk about possibly doing some case studies next week. So they'll be filmed and edited, and they will also go up on the website. So the plan is to promote that from early March, and then by the end of March, John will have sort of some more staff in place. So we're going to do a much bigger push at that point. And it also gives us a bit of time to look at the new website and make any adjustments in case we need to as well. We've also, I mentioned at the last meeting that we wanted to share the posters with traders before we go live as well. So I've had some of those printed, and those are ready for John to share. And we'll hear from John in a minute whether he's had a chance to do that. He may not have done because they've only been done this week. And that's it really. And then obviously when we do the bigger push at the end of March, we're aiming to do a specific targeted push towards young people as well.
Thank you, Karen. I must say the Let's Grow project generated some lovely publicity and some lovely photographs. There's nothing like near Christmas photographs of small children looking happy. Actually, that's very nice. Questions, members, thoughts on communications? Councillor Swift, Megan. No, you're still muted, Megan. Still muted.
Right, not now. Sorry about that, Chair. Two things. I wondered, I don't know what the National Association of Markets actually does. And I wondered if it was someone, an organisation that could either help us with expertise or help us with funding. And I wondered if it was worth contacting them to see, because, well, I'm sure if Geraldine was here, she'd know, but unfortunately I don't. The other thing about half terms that were mentioned, it was great last time. Are we doing anything to help Ash Green and the community around there at this half term?
I'm not sure about the funding on the markets. I think that's something that that John is probably best to answer on. But obviously we do refer to them on the webpage for support for markets. I'm not aware of anything for the Ash Green. I'd have to refer back to my colleagues for that. You know, I know there've been things in the past, and there was something in e-call last week about it, but I'm not aware of anything additional, I'm afraid.
We'll pick that up, Megan, outside the meeting. Thank you. Okay, anything else on comms? And perhaps one of the things we could do, I'm aware, I was talking to John earlier about the various social media things that the National Markets Association does, and competitions and things that they do. So we must make sure that we do actually pass that information on to members. Alan, you wanted to come in.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I'll probably come back to this in the next item, but just to say, this is clearly a real, and again, I'll link it back to Mr. Greenwood's report. It's a really, really important piece of work for us, the promotion of the market, the opportunities. We know when we look at the figures that the borough market's been through a tough period. It's not just pandemic related, it was prior to the pandemic as well. These are really, really difficult trading conditions. Having said that, so linking back to there's for me, I think there's some really nice timing for us, and it's not by chance. It's actually about bringing together and coalescing a series of things around a range of priorities that we've got. So we link back to Janet's item, the investment going into the market hall to create the right conditions inside the hall for traders to be able to trade and for the public to be able to access that. There's all the investment that's going into Halifax and Calderdale more widely, linking back to the earlier item around the investment that's going into Brighouse. There's a range of investment going into our markets across the borough. So I just think we've got a really lovely story to tell. And Karen's referred to the editorial that went in the journal recently. There's just a real opportunity, I think, to piece all of this together to create a real, I suppose, a step change in terms of a launch and appealing to future traders. And in the meantime, John was telling me the other day, I think, John, I'm right in saying that we've got interest from 4 potential traders already, and that's before the soft launch starts. So I really do think this is a great timing for it. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I do think it is the right thing to do, and I think it does give us a real opportunity to change things, and also within that, changing the shape and the focus of what we want from the market over this next period, within the fantastic environment that there is that's already been referred to. I love looking up in the market as well, and I can't remember how many dragons we've got in the market, John, but I do remember that initial tour way back when you took me around and we counted them up. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Alan. John.
Depends whether you want to be a dragon or a wyvern, really.
Ooh.
Can we put other people's names forward?
Just going in regards to, well, it was Councillor Thackeray that reminded me, by the way, that there were wyverns. I always thought that I was led to believe they were griffins, but it put me right many years ago. Going back to the National Association of British Market Authorities, it is a member organisation with the shared view of the best practice of operating markets, really. It has no involvement with grant funding as such, but does have influence through an all-parliamentary markets group, and therefore does try to influence investment into markets. It's also supported by officers to provide information to local authorities, and unfortunately you're looking at one of its officer advisors. One of the other ones is my colleague in Bradford. So with the two that lead largely on best practice and benchmarking, etc. So it is a good organisation. It's got 300 odd members, and it does do what it says on the tin, supports markets not on a national basis. In regards to Councillor Swift's comments in regards to Ash Green, if there is anything that this market service can do to support my former school, then we will do so. It's that simple. My assurance is that we would go out of our way, because there are several of us that originate from that village. So we will assist wherever we could.
Thank you. Sorry,
just following on from the comms, we've had some good success ourselves, and on average we're now averaging some rather large reaches with Brighouse, because we've engaged with some of the traders. So for instance, last week on our social media accounts, I think we engaged over 15,000 people just on Brighouse alone. Toblin, similar figure. So during the course of a month, we're now reaching over 100,000 people through social media. But that's done largely by the team, and largely in his own time, really, to be honest. So we do need to look at ways of picking up on that and delivering, because we are working towards a more digitally savvy consumer. And we need to be able to get there. And I think Karen alluded to one of the things with, it's not actually Cargodale. The scheme is called Deliver Halifax. And it's about delivering, it was initially about delivering food to people that were suffering with, or had to isolate through COVID, really. But we're now trying to take that on, and we've encouraged a bit of market traders to provide this delivery service. So optimistically, we'll be able to report at future meetings a bit more success on that. But yeah, that's all I've got to add, really.
Good, thank you, John, and thank you for that heartfelt commitment to do what you can for Ashby. I didn't know it was your old primary school, and I think it's been tremendous how, as a family, Calderdale and its organisations have really rallied round. You know, a school is very much part of the wider community as well as the specific community. So thank you for that. Members were asked to note the communications report and look forward to the next one. Happy to do that. Okay, right. Let's move on to the Market Service Review Q3 Monitor, and you will be familiar with the layout of this. I'm going to ask Alan if there's anything he particularly wants to draw our attention to. Alan.
Chair, no, simply to say, I think hopefully you can tell by the colours, the position remains positive. 3/4 of the actions have actually been completed, so that's pretty good going. And again, this relates, sorry, I keep bringing Mr. Greenwood into this, but he referred to some of the actions in his report, which were part of the series of actions to deliver the £200,000 improvement in the budget position. As I say, we'll see how that flushes through in the next financial year. So 3/4 of the actions have been completed, and the final two are either imminent or on track. You've received the update on the revenue position, which reflects the positive impact of the actions that we've taken in some parts of the budget, but of course that's set in the context of a really challenging financial situation overall. The two key areas of focus at present are recruiting to the remaining posts in the structure. So the new structure, John's team has been established, and we're working through that. We're working through the appointments to the structure. We've had some fantastic appointments recently who are already making a huge difference, having hit the ground running. So that's all looking positive. We've got two key appointments that are currently being progressed. And again, once we've secured those in the next month or two, then again, that will help us make a step change in terms of our ability to deliver and address the challenges and opportunities ahead of us. And the second key area of activity, we've just talked about the recruitment and retention of traders. As I've said already, I can't stress how important that piece of work is. So members are asked to note the report, and I'm more than happy to take any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Alan. I wanted to just pick up an action that's marked as complete, but I know has been a subject of interest to members previously, and that's the question about car boot sales.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yes, it is a difficult one, this, and in some ways it's quite a disappointing one. I'm not the kind of person who likes to kind of throw the towel in or feel as though we can't generate something. But the size and income from car boot sales has reduced significantly in recent years, despite our best efforts. And I know when I talk to John feels just as passionately as I do about this. I think John introduced car boot sales into Calderdale early on in his career. So it is with a heavy heart that we've had to draw a line under it, because despite our best efforts and some of what's already been talked about, the growth of online selling, the likes of eBay, where people are using different methods these days to be able to recycle and reuse second-hand goods, and has just led to the demise. I mean, the pandemic didn't help, but I would say there was a downward trend already that perhaps brought things to a head. Our staffing and our other costs for delivering car boot sales were fixed. Our income was reducing to the point where the income had reduced below our costs. So we got to the point where the car boots were no longer viable. As I say, it's a sad position to be in, but we felt that we had no option but to close the car boots. And we've, as you say, in the report, we've completed that action to the point where the staff who previously managed the car boot sales, those posts have been made redundant. So as I said, that action's been complete, and it is quite sad that we got to that point. Having said that, slightly more positively, a couple of points. A number of the previous tenders in Brighouse who operated on the car boot sale have actually migrated to the extended open market. So there's another opportunity for them to be able to operate in a slightly different way. And so that's been quite encouraging. So not all of the traders who operated on the car boots have been lost. There's an opportunity, as John has already referred to, that we're building on and developing over this next period. And of course, the other opportunity that we've got as a markets authority is we have the opportunity to license other providers to be able to manage car boots as well. And I think I'm right in saying, John, that we've got an inquiry at the moment from an established operator who's exploring with us the opportunities to be able to operate a car boot sale in the borough as well. So all is not lost. As I say, it is quite sad. And I think so at the beginning, Chair, this tends to be quite an upbeat meeting. We do have a range of challenges, but we do respond positively to those challenges. In this case, we felt we were left with no option but to draw a line under the operation as it was. But that doesn't mean that we can't reimagine things in a slightly different way in the next phase. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. John, do you want to add anything at this point? No? Okay. I think we would have a particular difficulty about North Bridge car park at the moment because of course we've got the leisure centre works starting there, so that would be out, but it's useful to hear about those possibilities. Megan, Councillor Swift.
Thank you. Not on mute. Yeah, I don't agree, Alan. I don't agree at all. And there's a number of other members who won't and will be really disappointed. Going back a bit, everything was done by the markets department to make sure that we didn't really have a viable, a number of viable stalls. And the police were there so often that there wasn't a lot of choice, etc. I personally would have thought that the police would rather have a car boot sale, and then it saved them going all around pubs for things that have been picked up in places. But no, I think, in fact, I know, Chair, can we have another discussion on this, possibly out and about? Because I still think Halifax had a car boot sale for a long, long time, goes back to thing. And the chap, I think, who's been talking to them is Jerome, who came to me, and I passed them on to them. I mean, he's got some big ones going, and if it's like run a little bit, you know, it might be a case of we give a license for somebody to do it, and then they have to clean up, etc., and all that sort of thing, rather than John's staff have to do it, because, well, there isn't time for that. I accept that.
Yes, thanks. I think that's what Alan was saying. Howard?
Thank you, Chair. I think it does justify revisiting, but somebody else running it on our behalf rather than Caldwell running it. Yeah. Certainly in this period, people have had the opportunity to have clear outs and realise they've got potential and stuff. So actually the potential is something in the future, but not to be run by Caldwell, in my view. Yeah, so I think another operator to look into it, so we don't pick up all the issues that come with car boot sales.
Yes, thank you. And John and Alan are going to take that away and bring it to a future meeting. Thank you. Okay, if there's nothing else on the review, I can see MD indicating. Thank you. Let's move on to the final item, which is the board's work programme update. And you'll see obviously what we've just been through for the mid-February and talking about late April for the next one. I'm not sure I've got a date. However, I have a suggestion to make, not about the specifics of the agenda, but about where and in person or virtual. And I'm going to suggest, members, and I have floated this with the officers already, that we think about having the meeting in either Halifax Town Hall and visiting Halifax Market, or that we have it in Todmorden Town Hall and visit Todmorden Market. And I wanted to test the waters really and see what you thought about having an in-person meeting, first of all. And secondly, if we are having an in-person meeting, whether we could accommodate some time in the agenda for a short tour, because I feel it's I feel it's some time perhaps since we were able to do that. Howard, you wanted to come in?
Thank you, Chair. I very much welcome a meeting in person. I would like to suggest Big House as the centre of the universe, because actually what I would like to do is walk around with John and yourself and other members and identify where some of the key sites could be with this new investment. So actually, it would be a great opportunity to actually do. Todmorden is already in existence. Halifax market is equally in existence and very lucrative. So actually, it's about the future of Big House and the market in Big House, and therefore, why not focus around Big House?
Thank you, Councillor Blackburn. Could I remind you slightly tongue-in-cheek that you are a councillor for the whole borough as well as the councillor for Big House. Let's take a look, shall we, and just see, because various things may not work. And I can reassure Councillor Blackburn that I walked around all of the potential sites for markets in Brig House, including the existing one, just the week before last, actually. So it is very firmly in our minds. Yes, there are new ideas there, but actually there's a lot of change in Todmorden and Halifax as well. So let's put them on the list. But if people are okay in principle, the officers will go away and just work out what's possible if people are happy to travel from their various places. Can we just quickly then look at the agenda? For late April, I have added in and I've scribbled in the question of a brief update, Janet, on Halifax, just wherever we are at that point would be helpful. We've got Brig House and Todmorden, focusing on the town investment plans, the town improvement plans, and a quick update on Sowerby Bridge Market, which of course is going through changes. The quarter monitor, the work programme, communications update, and the finances. Is there anything else and that's already quite a bit of an agenda, anything else that people feel desperately must go on? No? Okay, well, that's the last item on the agenda, folks. Thank you